What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. We're here breaking down Super Bowl 58, Chiefs versus Niners for DraftKings and FanDuel. Going over the Showdown slate, we have some major contests this weekend, so it should be a good one. Plus, this game does look really good on paper. If you enjoy, make sure you leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and let's dive right into it. And as always, if you like what you see on the screen behind me, it's always available over on my Patreon. The link down below. Projections, optimizer, ownership projections, Discord, cheat sheet, all that fun stuff. But it's the last week of the year, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. But we have NASCAR starting next week. Daytona 500, $1 million to first. And NASCAR's my main jam on this channel. So if you want to check it out, I have live streams every single Sunday and videos dropping every Saturday, and plus the extra content over on Patreon as well. But anyway, let's get into it here. We're going to go position by position, touch up on the majority of the players, and then we'll try to build a lineup at the end. But I think will be most valuable for you all is that I will show you how I set up my optimizer. And this goes for any optimizer, not just mine. But for a 150 max MME type build, which is what I'm going to be doing this week, and I did it all season long, had a fantastic Showdown season. Go figure, I don't make any videos for it. But I will go over that at the end to help you guys out that are doing 20, 150 max type builds. And honestly, I would say if you're doing single entries, the way you use your roster construction, I think would make sense. Because you have to build a story with your builds, and it's going to start at the captain spot for the most part. But let's talk quarterbacks. So you have Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy. Obviously, both are going to be fantastic plays. It's not a matter of should I play these guys, it's how much should I play them and how much in the captain spot. Over on FanDuel, since they're not going to multiply your salary, throwing them in the captain spot that goes for any position, not just quarterback, they're going to be more popular in the captain spot over on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, you're going to get that 1.5x right there. So I've always tended to kind of lean more towards pass catchers or elite type of running backs in the captain spot over on DraftKings. That's obviously going to be very game dependent, but in a game like this, when you have so many good pass catching options and running backs, Christian McCaffrey, Isaiah Pacheco, you have so many good wide receivers in this game, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Rashee Rice, then you have obviously the tight ends and George Kittle and Travis Kelce. So I would say on DraftKings, it probably makes more sense to have exposure to them in the captain spot, because if they're going to go off, sure, the quarterbacks are going to have good games, but I would rather take my chances in GPPs with one of the pass catching options. Over on FanDuel, I'll definitely have some decent exposure to the quarterbacks in the captain spot. We could talk matchups. I don't really care. 49ers offense is elite. I'm not saying Brock Purdy's an elite quarterback, but he's in an elite situation, and his options around him are too good for him probably to have a terrible game. So I think he could easily have 250 and at least 2. And this one, as for Patrick Mahomes, he's the best quarterback in the league. And while their team total is a little bit lower at 22.5, he really just does not have the option to have an off game here. And if you look at my projections over here, I have them pretty much the same. I do have Mahomes with a higher projection, but keep in mind it's a little bit more expensive. So they're both at 1.7x for me over on DraftKings FanDuel, both at 1.2x. So really, it's just take your pick, and all comes down to your pass catchers. If you're more heavy of certain players in the captain spot or in the flex spot that happen to be on the Chiefs, you'll probably end up having more Mahomes. And same thing for the 49ers. And really quick, I do want to mention that Prize Picks and Underdog, sponsors of the show, are running a promo this weekend for the Super Bowl that you had to take advantage of. They have Patrick Mahomes listed at 0.5 passing yards. Obviously, that's a pretty easy over. I got him going over nearly 250 times that. And if you're a new user on either site, promo code CPAM will get you a deposit match bonus up to $100 in the link down below the description or the pinned comment. Again, that's Patrick Mahomes at 0.5 passing yards paired up with your favorite prop. You'll be well on your way to winning some cash. Moving on to running backs, I'm going to group these guys by team. So we have CMC, Elijah Mitchell, and Kyle Juszczyk at fullback. He's a bit of a Swiss Army knife over there. You can catch the ball a little bit and maybe get a goal line plunge. You also have Jordan Mason, but I do not have him in the projections for this game, but maybe he gets a carry. I doubt it though. But we know it's going to be the CMC show. And while he does come at a very high price point, he is by far the best projection play on this slate. Arguably the best player in football on the offensive side of things. He won the Offensive Player of the Year award. And the dude's just an absolute beast. If we're looking at his numbers on the season, averaging 17 carries per game, 91 yards, 5 targets, 18% target share, and he's averaging 22 opportunities per game on this season. And when it comes to matchups for a guy like Christian McCaffrey, I just don't care. The 49ers offense is too good. Kyle Shanahan is too good at scheming things open for these guys. So I am all aboard the CMC train here. You can also catch the ball. So if you're using Brock Purdy, he is fine as a pass catching option with our league just a couple of weeks ago. They ended up having 12 targets from Brock Purdy. Elijah Mitchell might still goal line touchdown. We saw that versus Detroit after CMC got winded after a decently long run around the goal line. And then Juszczyk, maybe he catches a pass, maybe he gets a goal line plunge. I don't know, he's only $800, so be with that how you may. I believe his rushing prop over on DraftKings is 3 yards. It's either 0.5 or 3. I forget what it is. I think my projections only gave him a couple, but I do have him in the list though. And then for the Chiefs, we have Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, Jerick McKinnon is not expected to play in this game, but he did get a limited session in, and I am recording this before the end of Friday's practice. So if he ends up being a full go and he ends up playing, on Sunday, he is only $200, and all he'd have to do is catch a pass, and honestly, that would not be the worst thing in the world at minimum price. And with how many studs there are in this slate, that could allow you to fit in many, many things. So keep an eye out for Jerick McKinnon. I do not currently have him in my projections, but if he plays, obviously he's going to be the top value play on the entire slate. I am fine with Isaiah Pacheco here. He's going to be probably pretty touchdown dependent just because at $8,000, it's not like he's super expensive, but I'd have a hard time seeing him have a super high ceiling game unless he gets into the end zone. So if you're playing Pacheco, you need a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, well, he's pretty much a lock to score almost every single week, it seems like, at this point, averaging 0.9 rushing touchdowns and close to half a receiving touchdown per game. As you can see, for how I have this projected out, CMC by far the best projection play here at 25.5 points. Pacheco is still solid at 15, but I mean, CMC is just far and away of the field here. And then you have CH at 3.6, and then a couple of stragglers there for the 49ers. If McKinnon plays, he'll probably end up being around, I don't know, like 1.5 to 2.5, somewhere in that point threshold as far as a projection is concerned, because he's a receiving back and all we need is one reception. But keep an eye out for that because it will obviously affect how builds are going to look. Moving on to wide receivers. Super long list here because the Chiefs have about 5 million guys that can catch a football. The Niners got a decent list too, but we know where the ball is going to go pretty much in that offense. Let's start with the Chiefs here first and try to dig through this. So we have Rashee Rice as your wide receiver one in this team. Pretty clear cut and dry on that. Then after that, and obviously Travis Kelce, it is a revolving door of random guys that you have no idea who it's going to be. And we do have some guys coming back this week, so it's going to make it even tougher. But we have MVS, Justin Watson, Sky Moore is back this week, McCole Hardman, Kadarius Toney, not sure if he's going to play or not. We'll see. I mean, I don't see why he'd be on the field, but he might. Then we have Richie James, also at $400. So good luck figuring out who is going to be playing football for the Chiefs, at least getting targets, I should say. So if we're looking at the snap counts from last week, Rashee Rice led the team at 90%, and we saw MVS at 83%. Justin Watson at 44%. Obviously, Sky Moore didn't play. Kadarius Toney didn't play. Richie James saw 21% of the snaps. Hardman, 1%. That was one snap. And then Justin Ross, 4% as well. But I do not have him in the projections. Looks like Sky Moore is going to be back. And when Sky Moore was playing, he was out since week 15. But looking at the previous games from that, 25, 35, 66, 57, and 51% of the snaps. And also, he was kind of a hero in last year's Super Bowl. So maybe that gives him a nice little edge to get some more snaps in this one. But look, if I told you I know what's going to happen with these Chiefs wide receivers, I would be lying to you. I just really have no idea. I can show you how I have it projected, but there's no guarantee that's going to be super accurate. So Rashee Rice, obviously the alpha dog here. The other guys, you were spinning a wheel, hoping for the best. MVS, he's a deep play threat, so if you think he's going to be bombing this one, the 49ers have not been exactly the best team versus wide receivers this season. If you look at their numbers, they are currently 19th. The Chiefs are 3rd, so it's a tough matchup for these guys, and I guess that just kind of leads us into the 49ers here. So you have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, the two most expensive. That is where the ball is going to go. The 49ers do not throw the ball a ton. Then you'll also have George Kittle eating up some targets as well. Jennings, he will be on the field. Decent amount of snaps there. He should get a few targets. After that, we are looking at guys like Chris Conley, Ronnie Bell, Ray McLeod, guys that I don't really expect to have an impact on this game. Wouldn't really be too worried about it. So if you are playing a lot of Brock Purdy in the captain spot or just in the flex spot, make sure you get him paired up with guys like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, because Brock Purdy cannot get the job done himself. He's going to have some help, and those are the two main guys that can do it. Moving on to tight ends, we have two of the best in the league facing off, Travis Kelce and George Kittle. Obviously, Kelce's going to project better. It is a much higher passing volume offense, but that does come with a price to pay. $6,400 for Kittle, $10,200 over on Kelce. So I do understand if you're getting the more Kittle just because of salary purposes. Now, obviously, you want to play both of these guys, so they're going to filter in your lineup. So what about Noah Gray and Blake Bell? Well, Noah Gray played roughly 60% of the snaps last week, and if you're looking at just the playoffs for Noah Gray, 47%, 60%, and 58%, I think he's a fine value play. There's always the chance that Patrick Mahomes gets it mixed up. He thinks it's Travis Kelce in the end zone, but no, it's Noah Gray, and we can get a cheap touchdown. So that's always in the cards, so I don't mind getting to a little bit of him. And then Blake Bell. Crazy stuff can happen. He played 20% of the snaps last week, 32%, and then 25%. So I don't think we can rule out Blake Bell at only $200. You just need to catch. Now, the problem is we're not getting too many routes out of him. If you're looking at his route participation, so week 19 versus Miami, he ran 4, the 10% route participation. He ran 2 routes versus Buffalo, that's 8.7%. Then last week versus Baltimore, only 1, just 2.4%. So again, so really, you should not expect anything from Blake Bell, but if he does happen to get a catch, you'll be happy at that price. And as always, the most fun part, defense and kicker. I actually don't hate some of the defenses in this game. Both defenses are pretty solid. Obviously, the offenses can put up points, but 47.5 point over under. It's a 2.5 point spread. Obviously, the 49ers would be the preferred defense, but they're $1,000 more expensive. So I actually don't hate the Chiefs. They're at $3,400. They do project as a little bit better of a value to me. And we've seen Brock Purdy be a little bit shaky at times in the playoffs so far, so it's not like he's been absolute money, and his one big touchdown versus Detroit should have been a pick anyway. So I don't hate the Chiefs at that price point. If you have a very Chiefs-heavy lineup and you're kind of building for a script where the 49ers just don't really put up too many points. And the kickers, they are what they are. If they hit their field goals, well, they become decent value plays. I got Moody for around 8 points. I have Bucker for around 8 points. Really just pick your favorite there. Kind of priced them up to $5,000, so it's not like they're great values like they used to be back in the day when they were around $4,000. So it does make it a little bit tougher to get there. Over on FanDuel, though, I don't hate them at all. Looking over some general rules, I really only fill out 2 things right here. I mean, obviously, some people have personal preference, but I run 25% randomness. That's the one I feel comfortable with. And then for efficiency, I do 0.1 just because I don't want any players that have a 0-point projection to pop in my lineup. All right, so the first group that I'm going to put in place, so whenever I have pocket passers, I usually want at least 2 pass catchers with that quarterback if they happen to show up in the captain spot. Because if Mahomes is going to go off, he is probably not going to rack up rushing touchdowns. I don't believe he has one in the season, so I don't really see that changing where he's going to have a Lamar Jackson type of performance where he does it all himself. So he's going to need some help. So if he's going to go off, he's going to throw touchdowns. They're probably going to go to these guys. So I pretty much put every single pass catcher possible, and I want at least 2 of those paired with Mahomes' captain lineups. And then this is another rule where it depends if I have a rushing quarterback or not. So like, for example, if I have Lamar and he shows up in the flex spot, I don't necessarily think I have to have him paired with a pass catcher with him because he could, again, he can do it himself. He doesn't really need help sometimes. With Mahomes, he's going to need some help. So if he shows up in the flex spot, I want in that specific build to be paired up with another pass catcher with him in the flex spot as well. And then I want to do the same thing for Purdy here because he's not going to put up a big rushing performance. So if he shows up in the captain spot, I want at least 2 of his main pass catchers in every single build with him. And then same rule applies here for Purdy. If he shows up in the flex spot, I want him paired with one of his pass catchers as well. I did exclude CMC from this group, but I did put him in the captain Purdy group as well since he's a pass catcher. But if he shows up in the flex spot, I don't think it's a necessity for CMC to show up. And then I also make quick rules here. So if like a guy like Debo's in the captain spot, I want him paired with Brock Purdy in the flex, and for Mahomes, we'll see Rice. Same thing applies there. All right, so we put all those rules in. I obviously would take more time looking at exposures or anything. Please don't copy and paste these. But I am just looking to see what like a really quick dry run of these builds would look like, and let's make sure all the lineups satisfy our constraints that we had. So looks like it loves Rashee Rice, and I understand that. He is very cheap. I think it's $7,600. I assume he's going to be very popular for this one, but I want to see the most populated captain, which is Christian McCaffrey. No surprise there. I mean, yes, he's extremely expensive, $18,000 in the captain spot, but his projection does make him quite a great play. And as you can see, ownership projection looking very high on him. But I want to see some quarterback captain lineups, or really just quarterback lineups in general. So let's see if we do follow the rules here. So we have Mahomes in there, we have Rashee Rice paired with them, and also Noah Gray. So I said at least 1, so I'm okay if it has more than 1. You scroll down here, I think you guys can only see the screen on the left. My big head's blocking the rest. So we have Mahomes again paired with Rashee Rice. That is fine. I'd like to see if we have a Mahomes captain lineup. I think you can see that on the right there. So we have him up in the captain spot. We need at least 2 pass catchers. It looks like we have Noah Gray and Rashee Rice, so that's totally fine. So as you can see, it is following the rules. And while some of the lineups probably look a bit ugly, well, that's how you win showdowns. I don't typically look at the builds. I always check to make sure the rules are where I want them. But then I play around with the exposures and get them where I want, try to find my leverage spots. And that's typically how I attack a showdown slate. And by no means am I saying this is the only way to win. This is just the way I prefer how to build, and it's been working out for me. Obviously, other ways can work out for other people. That's the beauty of DFS. So with that being said, guys, that's all I got for the video. That'll be it for the season. Hope you all enjoyed. I appreciate y'all tuning in each and every single week. Wish y'all the best of luck on the Super Bowl. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. It's probably a very unpopular take, but I love Patrick Mahomes. I wish y'all the best of luck, and I'll see you all